Hello again, this is Pete from Lay and Play. This is episode 3 of the tech series. Get the lowdown on Lay and Play TV. The first 2 episodes we talked about pump assemblies, stripping one down and building one up. This is now an assembled single pump 2 dump setup. What we're going to do is we're going to strip that down and we're going to talk about the individual ancillary parts that make up a fully assembled pump. What it consists of is a pump that lifts and 2 dumps that lower. So you can lift the front and the back and then lower individual corners. So if you wanted to hop the front, you could do that. If you wanted to hop the rear, you could do that. If you wanted to lift the front and drop one corner or drop the other corner to get your car level, you can do that. Or probably the most essential is if you wanted to do 3 wheels, you need this, at least this sort of setup in the rear to drop one opposite rear corner as you drive around the corner, and it'll make the car tilt down one side, one wheel will come off the ground. Working our way back from the ram to the dump, you'll have a hydraulic hose, much like this, although this is a much shorter version. So you can imagine that would run down to the front or to the rear of the car to your ram. These just have a 9/16 jick fitting, female at this end, and then I'll just get rid of that one as well. And then into the dump is a fitting 9/16 jick and then 3/8 NPT. That's those fittings. This is the same fitting that you'll have at the other end where the ram is. So to move on to the next part, I want to get to these dump valves. I need to strip off these return lines. Again, it's just another hydraulic hose, the same as the hose that you get to the front rams and the rear rams. This is just a real short version. It's got the same size fittings, which is 9/16 jick. These hose ends have both got female 9/16 jick in there. So that now allows us to get at the 2 dump valves. These are already loose. Just going to spin these off. Just be careful of your cables. There's one. Standard Delta dump. It's nothing fancy, but it's a nice chrome finish one. This one's exactly the same. The 2 dumps are the same. Oh, that one's bringing the check valve with it. We'll go into a bit more detail on these dump valves. If we unscrew this return line fitting, which again is exactly the same, albeit a 90 rather than a straight. It's a 3/8 NPT with a 9/16 female male jick for the hoses, and then you've got a stripped down dump. Most dumps are the same. You can get Italian, you can get Deltas, you can get ADELs and ADEXs. They all do the same job. They allow the fluid to return back to the tank when you hit the switch, when you energize the switch down. So you've got 2 wires, one wire goes to earth, the other one will go to the switch with 12 volt. When you hit the switch down, that energizes this coil. So if you just take off that nut at the top, this is just a cover, a chrome cover, just to make it look pretty. That's a copper wound coil where the electricity passes around that coil. It magnetizes that core piece, and if we just take that off, in this bottom part there's a little metal slug, so when you energize that, it pulls the slug up. So in this dump, the check valve stayed in. Everything's already semi-loosened, so it wouldn't take me ages doing this video. The check valve, so the check valve sits in this T-fitting. Some people run a single check straight from the pressure port, but what you find then is you get fluid dispersion between your hydraulic lines, so the fluid can run all the way through to one ram and to the other. So you'll go around a corner and the fluid will stay in that ram on that side, and you'll go straight and the car will still sit on the squiff. So what you need in a single pump 2 dump setup is 2 check valves. So you've got your pressure port into a T-fitting, and then into your T-fitting are your 2 check valves. They have a little ball bearing inside. When there's pressure in the lines, it forces that ball bearing back and the fluid can go past, but the other way it can't. It sits in a cup and it prevents fluid dispersion back through. They're just a one-way valve. So moving on to this T-fitting, just going to take that out of there. Good old wobble joints. These just allow you to undo the fitting without having to take everything off so it doesn't spin. So that is essentially just a T. All you've got there is a female 3/8 MPT, which your 3/8 fittings all go into. That fitting there needs to have a taper to sit inside that tapered pressure seal there. But as that tightens, that male seat sits inside that female seat and keeps it nice. So then moving on to this valve, which is your slowdown valve. So when the fluid returns through these lines, when you energize your dump and the fluid returns back, it's going to return back through this port. But without a slowdown valve, the fluid will fly down your lines and your car will slam against the ground and it'll scare the crap out of you. So what you have is a slowdown valve. All it is a tap. Simple as a tap, like the tap in your kitchen. The more you open it, the faster the fluid. Fully closed, it won't drop at all. This should also be relatively loose. Let me just get these on here. Again, it's got the wobble fitting. So it's the same idea. So there's your two wobbles. You've got your pressure port and your return port, both with the same size fitting on there. And there you go. Simple. So that rounds up a single pump double dump assembly. In other videos we'll go into more details of how each individual part works, the faults that you can have with them, what tends to go wrong, replacement parts, where you can get them from. In the next video we'll reassemble what you've just seen so you can see how it all goes together, what size spanners you need, how to get everything straight, how to make sure everything works. And other than that, that's that finished. Just like to point out that this is the Lay and Play 65 Impala T. There's only how many banes? 40 of these in production. I think we've probably sold half of those left now. We've got them in all sizes. You can get them by messaging us direct on the UK Lowriding Facebook page, and if you drop us a message below, we'll get in touch. Okay, peace.